I need to figure out how to post to many places at once.
Yeah, I know, right? I believe we are live.
How
We
about that?
should be
Well,
live.
I just posted on X, which so somebody over the weekend, Eileen, called
Mhm.
it Exeter,
Exeter?
Xiter, Exeter.
Oh,
It's
a lot
X,
of
but
people
also
exiting.
Twitter. Yeah, yeah, I know.
There
There's
are a lot of
that.
people leaving. Oh my goodness. Hello, everyone.
Hi, y'alls. What's going on? What is happening?
What is
This is so
happening?
super fun for all of you joining us. Eileen and I are about to kick off our beta episode of Apple Vision Show. If you have been along for the ride thus far, we want very much want your feedback in order to figure out what the show is going to be. We have lots of our own ideas, obviously, but we're hoping that it is a fun collab effort, and we're happy to have you with us.
All right. Shall we begin?
Let's begin.
Did that look pro?
It looked. I thought so. I thought Eileen is the one who's doing some behind the scenes fancy pants stuff. So I'm like, looks good to me. I don't know how you did that.
A little bit of Canva, a little bit of motion,
Yeah.
it all worked
No,
out.
it looked awesome. It looked awesome. I really do. I like where we're going with all of this.
Oh yeah.
So hi everybody. What's up?
Hi.
Hi. I'm Sarah
Welcome back.
Lane.
Yeah, and I'm Eileen Rivera. Look, I didn't even put my last. If you're watching on visuals, I just put my first name like Madonna on here. Forgot to put my last name, but nice.
It's all good. I sometimes wonder too, because I always say at Sarah Lane, where I'm like, I'm at
Yeah.
Sarah Lane everywhere, but that's not
Yeah.
actually true. I
Oh,
don't have the Sarah Lane handle on every social network, especially not some of the recent ones. So
okay.
I don't know. I figure
Yeah.
everybody can find me.
Yeah, they'll find you somehow. They'll find you through the first Sarah Lane, and then they'll just,
Yep.
scope you out even more.
Someone will be like, "Are you the ballet dancer?" I'll say, "No, that's a different one." But, it's all good.
Hey,
It's
you know what? You could pretend like you're a ballerina, right? You can be like, sure, why not?
this is a very, very non sequitur story as we get into a show about Apple. But back in the day, Eileen, you might have heard the story. So apologies if you have. Uh, uh, when Black Swan, the movie,
Oh yeah.
was getting lots of awards and this and that. Natalie Portman's stunt double was a ballerina named Sarah Lane, not me, different
Oh.
Sarah Lane. And there was some controversy about, this is, gosh, I don't know, what, 2012, something like that. Some controversy about how much, accolades she had gotten, as the stunt double. Kind of being like, well, they made it seem like Natalie Portman did a lot more than she actually did. And the
Okay.
actual ballerina was, feeling snubbed kind of thing. Anyway, because of that, right around kind of like Oscar buzz time, there were a lot of articles about this. And somehow my phone number got into the mix to the point
Oh
where
no.
for about a week or two, like very early in the morning, East Coast time, we're like CNBC, was like, hoping to get a soundbite or something. I was getting these phone calls where people being like, can you please speak on the controversy with Natalie Portman about the movie? And boy, I almost lost my mind.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Which
Well,
is,
I mean,
and I would love to meet other Sarah Lane one day. I mean, it's not her fault. It just was a mistaken identity thing. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I was at Sarah Lane on Twitter. So they
yeah,
just
for
figured
sure.
that was who it was.
Would it have been bad for me to think if I were you, I would have tried to answer at least, I would have tried to be interviewed once.
So I kind of did try to do that once. It was
Mhm.
half-hearted. I could have tried
Okay.
harder. But it was like some CNN hit where I was like, well, I don't, I mean, where's the satellite office that I'm supposed to go to? And they were like, well, let's get back to you.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. I was sort of like, well, you woke me up. It's 5 a.m. Pacific time. So yeah, where am I supposed to go?
Yeah.
Again, this is sort of before the days of Zoom, where I think a lot of satellite hits are now happening. But
right.
Yeah, anyway, so that's my story.
I love that story. Every week we'll have some personal inside story that everybody can get to know us a little bit better for. That one's awesome.
Exactly. I mean, there's got to be another Eileen Rivera out there just, mucking up your life.
I don't think the other one is that popular, but I know that there's an actress, I think. I don't know. I don't like to Google myself, so I don't really know. But when I did once, I was like, oh, okay, there's an actress, another Filipino woman, but she has a good portfolio and a nice website. I was like, oh, this is great. Good for her. Oh, maybe I should look into it. Maybe I should look into it for the next show. We'll see.
I like the idea that you just say, I don't want to Google myself. Because I don't really want to either, but I do it anyway. And then I'm like,
you do?
Not in the last week.
I think I'm just afraid of what I'm going to see. Like, I don't know. I am like, what? Not that I have any, skeletons in my closet, but I'm just like, I don't know. Do I really need?
There were days. There were days where when blogging was kind of in its infancy, I was very prolific. I'm writing all the time, and that stuff still exists kind of on the internet. But a lot of it, I'm just like, oh my God, that was like so oversharey of you, Sarah. Like what, like it's okay. I've evolved. Many of us have. Some people are, very prolific writers now and didn't used to be. So there's no right or wrong here. But some of that stuff, I'm just like, oh, I'm a little cringy. The old Sarah's a little cringy. We'll just go ahead and, keep that to ourselves.
Think about all the people that are just like exposing themselves on TikTok and are going to be like, oh no, I wish I hadn't have said that. Because there are days where I'm like, thank goodness there wasn't all of this social media when I was in my, 20s.
Right.
Because
they'd
be digging some stuff up now. Where'd you go? What did you do? I don't know. What did you wear?
Yeah.
The wear and the hair. Like, oh no. But anyway.
Influencing. So much influencing.
I wish I could have influenced back in the day, making that brand deal. But anyway.
Well, anyway, so Apple Vision Show. Here we are. Eileen and I, we're just kind of getting the hang of this. So we're so glad to have y'all along for the ride because this is a lot of fun. And for anybody who watched our live stream last week, we really do want as much feedback as possible. That will help us make the show that you want. That said, what we want to do is talk all things Apple, good, bad, everything in between. And so we thought we would start out today. And again, we're 4 days away from getting the Apple Vision Pro headset, which we are. Some people are going to be waiting a little bit longer because their pre-orders sold out quickly, but we are expecting our unit on Friday, so we'll do like a fun unboxing type thing. But as we sort of count down the days to that, what do you have on your mind, Eileen?
Well, you know what? I just went to the mall this weekend and decided, hey, we have an Apple store. I'm going to go in. I was actually thinking about headsets, right? I wanted to try on the Air Max, right? Hadn't done that before. We were talking, a couple weeks ago about the Vision Pro and like sharing and how gross that is. I did look at the Air Max. I'm like, oh, it looks a little dirty, but I just want to feel how heavy it is. Anyway, go into the store and it's a Friday evening. Other people have better plans than to go to the Apple store. Not me. And there were more employees than customers. This is the first time in a while that I've seen that. And bless them, bless the Apple employees. But I swear I would walk 1 inch. Do you need anything? I'm just going over there. Oh, just let me know if you need anything. Walk another inch. Hey, do you need anything? Yeah, I just want to go there. Usually I don't get bothered. Usually I can't get anyone to help me because it's too busy. And I'm just like, just need to buy these headphones. that was not the case. And it felt like they were like, hi, hi. And the eyes were like, oh my God, there's a body in this place. And I could talk to someone because I'm so bored.
Yeah.
And I swear 5 people talked to me and I was just trying to get to the Air Max and I put it on. And he's like, hey, I can't remember his name, but he's like, hey, I'm so-and-so. What are you here for? I'm like, these right here, these headphones. Anyway, I just felt like, what movie am I in right now? Why does everybody need to talk to me? I'm just going one place. I'll raise my hand. Maybe it's the introvert in me that's like, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me until I need something.
You mentioned that this was over the weekend. I mean, were you there like right when the mall opened?
No, this was at night. So this was like 7-ish.
Okay.
In fact, I think the store, I think they closed at like 9. So, it's towards the end of the evening. And I got to say, the energy of all the Apple employees was there. They were not just kind of like not looking down, not looking at you. No. I don't know. Is there like a quota they need to talk to X amount of customers in a day? I don't know what it was. I don't know. I felt like I was in a movie. Like, hi. I was like,
yeah, where you're like, okay, a lot. Having worked in retail when I was in college, which I was not good at all, because I'm not the person. Like, if someone's like, nah, leave me alone, I'm like, okay, I will never talk to you again until you come to the cash register and want to buy something. But obviously, the Apple employees, I think, as you're describing, are trained to, just make sure that nobody ever has a question that's not answered. Trying to be helpful. I've always found that my Apple Store experiences, or at least, I don't know, in the last decade plus, are pretty seamless. I walk in there, I've got a reason. I'm not going into Apple stores to browse these days because I just kind of have everything I need, unless I want something very specifically.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to look at like a certain display to make sure that it is the thing that I'm going to buy online later. But for the most part, unless it's like a Genius Bar thing where I'm trying to get something fixed, which is, oh boy, do I have a few of those stories. I kind of like go in, someone will come up to me and be like, what do you need? I'm like, new iPhone. They're like, great. How many gigs? Got it. Terabyte. Okay. And here's your credit card and you're on file. Bye.
That's the best. That's the best. Truthfully, I was trying to vlog and I was just trying to get some like shots, and maybe like show it in our show at some point. And I all of a sudden, because they kept coming at me, I was like, okay, I put my phone away. I was like feeling self-conscious. Like, should I not be filming? I think it's okay, but it just felt weird.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't be the first person
who's filming in the store.
The only Apple Store, I've had a couple Apple Store experiences, not bad ones, but the most recent one was actually an Apple Store that doesn't exist anymore in San Francisco's Union Square. Now, it does exist in a different part of Union Square, and if you're not familiar, it's a big retail part of kind of the downtown area of San Francisco. You have a lot of high-end stores. You have Saks Fifth Avenue and Gucci and the Apple Store and this and that. And I was down there, when I say down there, because I used to live north of there, probably, I don't know, a year ago. And I was doing some work and I had some time to kill before I got back in my car to go home. And I was like, maybe I'll just like walk around. I'll go to the Apple Store. And I walked by it and I was like, where is the Apple Store? Now, this particular Apple Store is significant because this was one of the Apple stores for sure that people were, lining up around the block 3 times over to get iPhones back in the day. It was like that store, the Palo Alto store, which is closer to Apple headquarters, a little bit south of San Francisco. But I mean, this was a pretty big store, and I felt like kind of like what you're talking about. Like, am I in a movie? Like, what happened to the Apple store? And I looked it up on my phone. I was like, oh, okay, it's over on the other side of Union Square. Okay, we're all good. But yeah, I spent some time in that store. I will say, spent some time in that store. But yeah, things change, and maybe your experience this last weekend was a bit of a lull because Apple assumes that a lot of people will be coming in to try out
This
the Vision
Friday.
Pro next
Yeah.
weekend.
I guess I should
And
go again.
well, I mean, yeah, yes or no. I mean, we'll already have one, but I actually do want to kind of figure out how that experience is, just,
Yeah.
so we can tell other folks.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know. I guess to circle back, hopefully, if you are interested, you go to the Apple Store and you try out the Apple Vision Pro and let us know what you think. Because I'm definitely going to have my opinions. I'm still a little wary of it. Pre-show, I was telling Sarah, I was watching all the videos, a little propagandist videos, but they made it look amazing. They made it look really cool. Even like the dad in his kitchen doing his stuff, then his daughter runs in. He's like, "What do you need?" Making it look really personable. But yeah, I think trying it if you're not really in the market is still something that I think people should do, just to kind of like understand the technology. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Apple has pushed very heavily, how much content you'll be able to consume using the Vision Pro. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that that's not a great idea and that it won't be, widely adopted. Right now, if someone said, "Hey, do you want the Vision Pro to watch your favorite Disney Plus movie?" I'd be like, "No, I'll just do that in my living room."
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Why do I need
I
to
mean,
do
maybe
that?
if I was on a plane or
Yeah.
otherwise, I was traveling, like the whole travel part of this. I'm like, well, I mean, it's not an insignificant thing to pack, but that could move the needle a bit. But at the
Yeah.
same time, that's a very expensive device to just think about for, like a once in a while travel thing.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I'm excited to see the opportunities moving forward that something like this, the device could lend us as a humanity, as a people. But yeah, there's always got to be something, right? There's always going to be something pushing consumerism into the future, and maybe this is it. I don't know. We'll see. But I am excited to see what it's like. I don't know yet, Sarah. Should I be wearing it on our first show, or you be wearing it on our first show? I don't know how that's going to work, but I
I
feel like I've gotten some requests. You got to wear it the entire show. Whoever has it,
well,
wear it. And I'm like,
well, and we
okay,
have the opportunity to, and again, just based on how we're going, how we're doing the show live right now, if we airplay what someone has seen and use
Mhm.
that as a source, then everyone else could potentially see that. We have to play around with that a little bit over the next
I think we
week.
do. Yeah.
Well, weekend, because we don't get it until Friday. But yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I really am. I think
Okay,
that
good.
there's a lot of, I don't want to say naysaying. There's
Hmm.
a lot of folks just being like, I don't know. I don't know if Apple's got a hit with this one. I don't
Hmm.
know. Developers don't seem all that excited. Apple talks about, all the apps that you're going to have on hand as soon as you get a Vision Pro and, and put it on your head. And that's all true. Many of those are iOS or iPad apps.
Hmm.
Some of those are Vision OS specific apps. In fact, I read something earlier today that Zoom, which is kind of it's like the
Yeah.
Kleenex of
Kleenex.
companies. When you talk about like doing something virtually on Zoom, even though it could be a variety of other platforms. But Zoom
Right.
is going to have an Apple Vision Pro app starting day one. And the idea making, well, Zoom wants it to be like, so collaboration is better than ever for people who are remote because no one's going back to the office, which I think is very smart. I think,
Yeah.
Zoom doing something like this out of the gate makes a lot of sense. And I
Hmm.
think, if that makes people feel like, gosh, it's almost like we're in a conference room together after all of this time. Because I know there are a lot of
Mm.
teams who are still wondering about that. This is perhaps one way to do that. There are others. I also, read that Mark Zuckerberg, obviously CEO of Meta, said very excited about the Vision Pro, just making this, this whole segment of tech make more sense. It's helping us feel like we were onto something. Competition is good. I mean, I guess that's what they have to say, but
yeah. And I mean, good for Zoom getting into this, first wave, and then they'll probably adapt and make it better. But, I know you're not going to say I'm using the headset. You're not necessarily going to see me doing this, right? But you're going to see like a persona of me, I guess, I've seen that. Looks a little strange, but I guess that's what people on Zoom would be seeing, or not. They could see like a wallpaper or whatever. But yeah, I mean, maybe we should try it. We're gonna try all the apps, basically.
We're gonna try everything.
Zoom, and I want to know like what I see versus what you see, and vice versa when we do this, because we just gotta, I think there will be obvious use cases of the Apple Vision Pro that are going to be, set it apart, but I don't know, without seeing it yet, I don't quite know what that is. So I'm going to, hesitate in my praise of all of it until we see it. And then,
again, it's like, listen, we're doing the show, which again is not just about the Vision Pro. It just happens to be timed so that this is, kind of a big deal for us as we're getting the show off the ground. Apple Vision Show is all things Apple, but Vision Pro, clearly one of those things. But I feel the same way as you. I really like, I know Apple wants to call it spatial audio. Many people just say VR or spatial reality. People say VR, or AR, or augmented, or, there are so many buzzwords, buzz terms. And I don't really think a lot of that matters all that much. Like, whatever, call it whatever you want. But you put this on, does it make your life better? Do you say, wow, this is so cool, I can't imagine going back? That's how I felt with the Quest when I first used it. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay. Because I was sort of like, VR was around for years, and I just was like, it's not really my thing. It was touted very much as like a gaming device. Yeah. Not the Quest specifically, but just, VR hardware in general, where I'm like, well, I like Tetris, but I'm not like, I'm not gaming all that often. So like, maybe this just sort of isn't for me. Then I tried it and I was like, oh, this is really cool. But again, we're talking something that was, in the $300 range, not the $3,500 range.
Yeah.
So if Apple's like, hey, you're never going to, watch a movie and love it as much as this, I'm like, I don't know. I think you got to give me more than that.
Right.
So yeah, we'll have to try out the apps. And I think there are going to be a lot of apps that maybe aren't developed specifically for Vision OS. That are, let's say, an iPad app that just runs well, that the developer hasn't opted out to put into the Vision Pro App Store, that people go, this is amazing. It's so great. And the developer didn't even have to do anything. It just works. I just don't know what those are yet.
I don't know either. Yeah. It's hard to predict the future, and lots of people love to do it. But until you have it in your hands, I really, I can't wait, though. I can't wait. I don't mind making a fool out of myself doing that situation.
I don't either. We can be fools together. We can be fools together. But as we look forward to the next week, it's gonna be a big week for Apple. A few people have already tried out the Vision Pro, but most have not. Us included. So we're gonna have a lot more informed opinions real soon. But until then, I know that last week Apple had celebrated the Mac's 40th anniversary. 40 years.
Happy birthday to Mac. How many Mac devices have you owned over the years? I feel like I've used and owned so many. And then I found on Wikipedia Look at this chart. It's crazy. Those of you listening on audio, on Wikipedia, there is a timeline, and it looks like
that is crazy.
like a Gantt chart of all of the different Macs. And let's see. Look, I can just keep scrolling to the left until you get to today. But like, this is a lot of different iterations, and I have to say, I feel like I've lived through most of them and used quite a handful of them. I don't even remember, honestly, which one was my first one. I mean, I had the clamshell book, at one point.
Yeah.
I always had a Mac, I believe, either through school and then eventually owning my own. But when I looked at this chart, wow, like that's a lot.
It's a good reminder of, like how far we've come. And pardon me, the fact that Apple is still trying to figure out, like, okay, what do people want?
Exactly.
Let's give them 6 options and sort of see what people buy. What's funny about this is when you said, like, how many Macs have you owned? I'm like, oh, so many. But I wasn't an early adopter, especially like in the scholastic era of my life. The iMac, the colorful iMac that, I don't know, launched in like 99, 98, that it was it's still quite large.
Yeah.
And, you had yellow and teal and, pink. And it was very popular, with college students in dorms. I never had one of those. One of my cousins did, and I was sort of like, whatever, Macs. I'm more of a Windows person, and I think, back in the day, you and I worked at some of the same companies. You would go to the office. You have a Windows machine at your cube. You use it. And then you go home, and maybe you have a computer at home, but it was I never had a Mac at home. I had another Windows machine that I used or I didn't, at the end of the day. And the first time that I owned my own Mac was the original MacBook Pro.
Okay.
And I think I bought that maybe it wasn't the original, but it was one of the first.
Okay.
Because there were MacBooks, and then the MacBook Pro was introduced.
Right.
I think this was 2005. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
Let me go back to this chart.
Go back to the chart, Eileen, and find it. But it was like such like a crazy purchase, because I was just sort of like, I felt like a little bit of an imposter, because for so many years I was familiar with the Mac OS, and I wasn't like not into Macs, but I had shied away for so long, because I'm like, Mac people are just like, all they talk about is Macs, and I'm just, I'm more sort of like a free thinker, what about Linux? And once I got the that first MacBook Pro, I was like, all right, we're done here. And I still have several Windows machines just to play around with, but I've been Mac all the time since.
Looks like 2006. Am I right here?
2006.
Yeah.
I said 2000. Yeah, I think 2006 might have been it. Yeah, because I ended up taking that thing, which was, I mean, I don't even know what happened to that machine. It's not in my possession anymore. But I traveled with that like while backpacking for quite some time, and it was the most precious cargo. Oh gosh, I was so worried that thing was going to be stolen the entire time. Never was. So
it's amazing how much lighter they've become. Because I remember having, I think I had like a power book, and I was trying to look where that is. And then obviously MacBooks and on and on. I generally had more of a laptop versus a desktop, although I did have a tower at one point. When I worked at Revision 3, I had a tower because I was doing a ton of editing, and it worked so much better. But now I'm back with my 14-inch MacBook Pro 2021, 1 terabyte. Been pretty happy with it all these years.
Good machine. So that would be an M1.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. My MacBook Air is also an M1. It was the first kind of M1, that you could get as a laptop. That is technically a DTNS computer, but it's still in my possession. I
Yeah.
use it daily.
Yeah.
And it was the first laptop that when I did just kind of, I don't know, something that was labor intensive, like Logic Pro, whatever.
Yeah.
Something where it's like, all right, the fan's gonna wind up, and we're gonna put this thing to the test. I was like, wow, no fan. How about that? It's my little like I'm like, laptop, are you alive?
I know. Are you actually running? Like what? It's quiet?
It was like you don't really think it's going to matter, and you get used to it just not being loud. But I'm using a Mac Mini for the show that we're recording right now. It's just the setup that I have, And this guy, if I were to fire up Logic right now, it'd be like, and like you might see a spinning wheel here and there. Like it can do it, but it's struggling a little bit, when I do too many things at once. So gosh, the M1, and kudos to all you folks who have later versions of it. But that was like, I remember telling people it's dead. However, it's also alive. It's really kind of cool.
Those are the kinds of like advancements that really, to me, help your lifestyle, because now you're not feeling like it's working so hard and you have to work harder to keep up. It's more of like quiet. We're all quiet. We're all calm and go on your merry way. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Now, there are a few people I'm looking at our chat, and iPad Pro main computer these days and 2 Windows machines for work stuff. Like I have not made that switch. I mean, I have my iPad Pro, and I use my laptop as more of like a Mac Mini, like a docked machine, and then when I'm just kind of all around the house, I've got my iPad Pro. No keyboard yet, but I mean, I have keyboards. I have this, this keyboard.
Sure.
But it's interesting how people have adapted to iPad Pros, like Willie here. So, and there's more than one in the chat right now talking about iPad Pro main computers. Like, wow.
Yeah. I remember back in the earlier days of iPad launched in 2010. And, I've, because again, I was doing shows and talking about everything Apple, I had pretty much, every time that Apple would introduce, like, here's a new iPad, here's the iPad mini, here's the, iPad Air, tried all of those out. And I feel like there was a wave of people being like, okay, I'm going to not use my, any of my actual machines. I'm only going to use my iPad as my main computer. Can I do it? People who were like tech journalists or, otherwise very much into tech. And people had great solutions. And I have quite a few friends to this day who are like, yeah, when I'm home, I'm not opening a laptop. I'm not sitting at a desktop computer. I mean, unless it's like a hardcore gaming thing. I'm just got my iPad. Yeah, maybe I've got a Bluetooth keyboard. All good. And it's like, really? I've never quite gotten there. Not quite. Unless I'm just passively doing something. But I'm also, I've got my iPhone with me. I almost never use this unless I'm away from my own Wi-Fi at home. Because I have a laptop and I have a desktop. And even though there's nothing wrong with, I mean, you can do lots of things on mobile devices. I'm like, I want my keyboard, and maybe I'm just old school.
I'm kind of generally the same for important, like I'm logging into a specific website that has, like, I don't know, health insurance or whatever, like I want to get in there and do it on my laptop versus
and kind of,
doing it on my
you
iPad.
Want your kind of, feel like you're like, okay, we're about to do something significant here.
And I think it's because I'm just not there yet where I have truly sunk all of my like necessities, like LastPass to my Chrome on my iPad. And so, but it just feels weird too. Sometimes it's just, it doesn't feel right to do only a few things on my iPad Pro. Now I love going on Amazon and all the, some of these, it's bad. I'm like, oh, look at it. I can walk and sit in my couch and oh, you know what? This seems like a good product. I should buy that.
Been there. In fact, there are a couple of those boxes on my front stoop right now. I was like, that was way too easy. Okay.
Now there are people out there, Kevin, M3 laptop in heaven.
Oh,
I'm
Kevin.
jealous.
All right, Kevin. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. I think the M series of Macs. I mean, I can't say enough good things about the Air, and again, it's still first gen M1 that I use as my main laptop when I'm not, sitting right here. Love it. Absolutely great. But I am kind of jealous of folks who have gone beyond. I just don't need a new laptop right now.
Yeah. No, I don't either. I mean, I think a really good topic for us too is to talk about, why you should upgrade to certain devices, or why not, or even through just our own lens. Like right now we're both like, we don't need to upgrade, even though I would love the faster speeds. I would love for it to hum like what do we have? We have do we have like a Mercedes, and the new M3s are like Ferraris? Is that a good analogy? I don't know. Or are we even more down? Are we
some car Honda? Person? Please weigh in and tell us.
I know.
I'm like,
are we
like
Honda?
The S-Class Mercedes is probably pretty cool too, but yeah, a little rich for my blood. But we were talking about this exact same thing last week. It's like when you were saying, Apple Watch maybe getting a little long in the tooth, and I'm like, I mean, you'll notice a difference, with the new one. And at the same time, I really just, and we all have members of our family, less technical folks in our lives, friends from high school, whoever it may be, who, will come to us and be like, oh, you work in tech. What do I buy? What do I get? Do I need this? And, I mean, more often than not, I'm like, well, what are you doing? What do you, did your laptop fall into a lake and will no longer boot up? Then you need a new one, and I can definitely point you, in the direction of a few things, depending on your budget. But I never feel like any of us should upgrade to something just because it's cool. Right. I mean, listen, if you've got the money to spare and you want cool things, go nuts.
Congratulations to you.
Right. But for most people,
right,
I think it's like, let's talk about how this will work, how this will make your life easier. And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's what we're all doing most of the time, is like, let's make this as easy as possible, whatever we're doing.
Now, Series 4 here, I'm wearing my Series 4. It is quite old. And I find now that if I wear it every other day, this will go long. This will go a whole day. Sad. But yes, it's time to upgrade. Now, if you're further along than me, maybe you don't need to, because I hung on to the Series 4 for a very long time. And it's worked up until like the last couple months. It's been kind of thinking, let's part ways. I think it's telling me ever so softly, I think we need to part ways.
And if that's the case, and you're like, hey, this is the Series 9.
I know.
Point,
it's like we're on 9.
It's like, I got the 7. I'm like, well, I don't need a 9. Like, this feels, I wear it all day, every day. Even sometimes in the shower when I forget, that's how much I wear it, which nothing bad has ever happened. I guess it gets clean. But yeah, if you have reasons for, like, here's the 1, 2, 3 reasons that this is going to be better. This has functionality that the, older version doesn't have. I'm not even talking about watches specifically, but just all of the things.
Anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Then that's, that's where it becomes fun. And that's where I think it's like, you set aside some money, you get yourself something nice, and then, you can feel good about your purchase.
Exactly. Exactly. I saw this here question for us. Do either of you listen to lossless audio? I'm not quite sure. Is that just related to our conversation on the Mac or on Logic, maybe? Or
Well, I think so. This question is from Mr. Portney.
mhm,
I think you're probably talking about Apple Music,
mhm,
like lossless audio. That certainly, yeah. If I was exporting something from Logic, I could export as lossless. I personally don't pay a whole lot of attention to whether something's lossless or not, unless for a job, that's part of the expectations of
mhm,
the file that I have to give somebody else. But Eileen, I think you and I both listen to a lot of music, often with our
mhm,
earbuds doing our
mhm.
thing, and I listen to unless I'm on a walk with my dog, the majority of everything that I'm listening to on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts is
Mhm.
in my car. Because,
Ah,
I
okay.
use CarPlay and, that's just, it's
Yeah.
either the, terrestrial radio or it's something that, I want to play specifically. And I'm not like that picky about what something sounds like,
Yeah.
particularly a podcast. When
Right.
you're listening to us right now, it's like, I mean, how much bass do you want us to have? If you have like a great sound system, awesome, go nuts. But otherwise, it's like, we're just talking. There's some
Yeah.
music here and there, maybe some sound effects. Music a little bit different, but I'm not a huge, and I don't want to use the word snob in a way that makes it sound, like if you care about lossless
Right.
audio or great audio that that you shouldn't care. I just don't care that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I think I have noticed when it's happening, but it's not like I seek it out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to explore more of whether or not I should. I just haven't. So, but I love people that are really into sound quality and can, uh, tell me why I need to. I mean, I'm still very much um we talked about this before, but when you're listening to spatial audio, I'm a little bit like, it depends on the song. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not like I need to have that. So I don't think I'm not wanting to experience something new and something better in quality. I see what's available and that's how I listen to it, and as long as as long as I can hear it, as long as it sounds great, then that's really what
Yeah,
matters.
and I think maybe and the person who broached this question, maybe it has a little bit more to do with music libraries that you own.
Mm,
Some
mhm.
people, myself not included, because I don't need hard drive space or physical space getting, I've gotten rid of all of that except some vinyl records that I still hold on to. Everything else
Nice.
is just, I'm just subscribing to streaming audio and I'm good with that. That's not for everybody.
Right.
Totally understand. And I think when you've built a library, I mean, not just music, music,
Yeah.
movies, whatever it might be, a lot of that sound quality really does make a difference. Not
Yeah.
only because you want like the best quality possible, but also storage space.
Yeah.
That also factors into it. And so that's a whole conversation to have as well.
We've been buying a little bit more vinyl these days,
Have
to be
you?
honest. Yeah, yeah, some of the packaging is gorgeous, the actual album, depending on, they're colorful, but they sound, it sounds it sounds a bit retro, which is kinda nice. Not that I'm always looking for the retro stuff, you know how, like I feel like Gen Z these days are going back and getting digital cameras. I'm like, "Oh, you have your phone and it's so much complete. Why do you have to go and get film processed and stuff like that unless you're, a film student?" But people are doing that. They're going
Oh
back to it.
yeah.
Remember?
Oh,
Remember
they
when
are.
you had your digital camera or film camera and you had to go get it processed? Like that's a thing. That's a trend. And I'm like, no, I lived that. And I was so happy when everything worked really well on my phone. I'm good. I don't need to go back there. But
a friend of mine recently went to Sedona in Arizona. I've never been. And he and his wife, what I think they kind of did like a spa weekend kind of thing, but also went to the Grand Canyon and did like cool stuff. And I saw some photos and I was like, wow, those photos are amazing. That was with your iPhone? And he goes, nah, no, I bought the it's called the Fuji Film X100V. He sent me a link and I was like, it's a digital camera.
Yeah.
It's not like super old school. It's fairly new, but like he was like, it's a standalone camera, and I was like, okay, I love this. First of all, your pictures look awesome, so great cam, but like, and you've got your iPhone and this, and how do you And he said, well, I don't have both of them, in my pockets at all times. But on sort of like what I would consider special occasions, I like to have the dedicated, camera thing that just does the camera thing. There's no Instagram notifications, there's no DM, there's no email. It just does the one thing. Now, people have been telling me this for years, like, oh, it's so nice to just have something that does the one thing, or even to the point where it's like, I'll take my iPhone out, but it's on airplane mode, so I can only use it as a camera. I've never gotten to that point. I feel like I get it. Psychologically, I get why it's cool to do that, and helpful and maybe freeing. But I don't know. I'm still just connected all the time.
I don't know where it's at. I have that Fuji camera. And
do you?
And it was, and admittedly, I don't use it as much. And I even took it with us to our trip to Seoul, and I didn't use it as much. I ended up using my phone more. And I wanted to learn better photography skills with it. And I bought it 2018, maybe. I mean, it's an older version of that camera. And so it's nice to have, but I have to say, on my person, like, having it in my purse plus my phone, like grabbing it out instead of my phone is so quick. And if we're moving really quick, I don't know. I just kind of forgot about it sometimes, and it felt heavy with me. I'm just not like an avid photographer outside of my phone, but I still have it. And I don't know. I keep seeing more people using it, and I'm getting inspired again to kind of like, okay, let me try. But so I was wanting to just learn the art of photography a little bit better, like how to use the macro zooms, just all of that stuff. And I got a little good primer with it, but I didn't really follow through. But I have it. So as I'm like, oh, I never want to do the digital photo again. I did buy, but this was like 5 years ago, and now I'm like, wait, do I still feel that way? And sometimes I'm like, maybe I do, but maybe I'm just being influenced by everything I see on like Instagram or whatever. But
this is probably, at some point we'll have to do just like a super photography based series of shows. I mean, one episode wouldn't be enough.
Right.
But this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, because just got a new iPhone. So I'm still trying to figure out like, okay, what do I really want on my home screen? It's so easy to just like back up from iCloud and then it just looks the same, but I have newer hardware. It's like, sometimes it's nice to reimagine, the experience. And for the longest time on my home screen, I had, a folder that had, I don't know, 10 to 15 apps inside the folder called photography. And I didn't use all of them every day, but I painstakingly would, do post-processing using a variety of apps like Hipstamatic. I used to love
Oh my gosh, I
love
remember
that.
that. Yeah.
And it was all like, I think a lot of this had to do with like the early days of Instagram and being like, okay, well, Instagram has built-in filters, and, some people sort of chuckle about, that whole thing. Like, oh, whatever picture you took, you can just make it look better with very little effort. And I was like, well, that's true. But there are also a lot of other apps where you can go like way deeper and really have fun with it and
Yeah.
learn a little something in the process. And, not like I'm like world's greatest photographer. I'm very much not. But I spent a lot more time tinkering around. And I don't exactly know when I stopped doing that. I think part of it was because the iPhone's own camera / post processing just got good enough that some of those apps were sort of rendered invalid. But yeah, maybe it's worth another look. And you and I both we know quite a few people who really care about this stuff and would have a lot to say about it. So we can pull them and share with the group.
There's also something to be said about the hashtag no filter, where you're like, I like it really natural. Beatmaster80 says, I guess you think differently about a shot when using a real camera, quote unquote real, instead of a phone. Yes. Yeah. Maybe you feel a little bit more artistic. I don't know. Or, with the window, depending on how you are viewing your shot before you take the photo is definitely in the viewfinder if you're doing that versus just seeing it because I have a screen on the back of the Fuji, so I could see it without looking in the viewfinder, but it also gives you the option of only looking through the viewfinder. You want that. Oh, I did not mean to do the heart there. And so yeah, or maybe you just want to relive the old days. Relive those old days.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of when someone's like, well, if you're like really serious, then you want a real camera. It's like the iPhone, and to some extent, the iPad and whatever. It's like the best camera you have is the one that's on you, or whatever that saying is. It's like it's all pretty good at this point. If you're taking some like rando photo, out of nowhere, and you got your phone on you and you snap it and kind of go, I'll just, look at it later. That's often what I do. It's sort of like, I'm just going to take a snap and I'll think about it later. Maybe it doesn't go anywhere. Maybe it never is shared with anybody. It's, I'm not always trying to be like world's best photographer, but there is something to be said about being like, well, but I've got this other camera because I want to take it a little bit more seriously. So yeah, I mean, apps help you with that as well.
Okay, so we're going back. Mr. Portney said, I asked because this is going back to the lossless conversation. I asked because I was curious about where you stood as far as audio quality goes. I'm just curious if tech people are also audiophiles. I believe they are. We just may not be the two strongest examples, but I do believe that there are quite a few tech people that are also audiophiles. They're
Definitely.
just not talking now.
Very much so. I mean, Eileen and I talking about spatial audio, where I think we're both sort of on the same page, where it's like sometimes cool, sometimes like and some people really care about it. The way that you care about stereo sound, and I don't know. I think that and this probably has a lot to do with just being in various apartments where I had to, some years ago, just downgrade, hardcore from a very cool, like 5.1 surround sound thing that I had with these real nice speakers that, I was very proud of. And, I knew how everything worked, but I simply didn't have room for them anymore. And so I sold them. And now it's like, I'm like, soundbar, we're good. Or even like no soundbar. As long as I can hear everything, we're good. Now that's maybe my own laziness and also just not wanting to like spend a ton of money building that from scratch again. Yeah. But I think we have various levels of like being an audiophile. I think I am one, but I'm not going to pretend like I'm a super hardcore audiophile.
Yeah, you don't have to. I mean, there's plenty of people that we could lean on for that. And, I want to know why I should be more of a hardcore audiophile. Maybe I'll never be. But
I mean, remember when MP3s were all the rage, and you would have like the a certain subset of people being like, but it's such crappy quality.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, but it's free. It's fine. It's fine.
It's free. It sounds like the song. Oh, but have you listened to CD quality prior to that? Have you listened? I don't know. I don't know that anybody's
no
going
one's
to defend
wrong.
tape.
No one's wrong here. But yes, we all have our ears are of various I don't know, delicate qualities, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's why I wanted to try the Max, the Air Max at the Apple Store. If we're bringing it all the way back to there, so I'm like, it was kind of important to try and find something that or why. I also wanted to know why lots of people were wearing these and love the sound. And that was it's a bit pricey, but from what I understand, the sound is amazing. And it was when I was listening, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, over the ear headphones are. I mean, some people have no problem wearing them just all day, every day. It's a look for sure. I feel like it's too much for me on any given day, but yeah, I mean, a nice set of earbuds, earphones, headphones, whatever it is, it does, it's also comfort, it's sound quality, but also just, does this feel good? Does this feel like something I want to be wearing all the time? Speaking of earbuds, my mom, I was talking to her over the weekend, and she just recently got the AirPods Pro. And she had a set of Jabras, which she got because I used to use Jabras, and I was like, these are great. Yeah, you don't need to buy anything from Apple. Like they're wonderful. And hers, I don't know. They went the way of the dodo for whatever reason, and she was like, all right, I need new ones. I'm gonna go ahead and get the AirPods. And she was like, they're so great. And I'm like, why? Why are they so great? Because I agree with you, but I don't totally understand why I like them. I think that it has less to do with audio quality, even though the audio quality is good and they don't fall out of my ears, which is a plus. But it just hooks into everything iOS and watchOS and the things that I'm doing. It feels more seamless than something that's a third-party thing, which I think Apple is hoping that we all think.
Well, these are Jabras that I'm wearing right now, and they're pretty good. They actually, once I connected, it always connects now. So I'm not, missing my pros died recently and I haven't replaced them. I actually have some Beats, courtesy of my husband. But for this, I still have these. They're not that expensive, but they work and I can hear you just fine. And the music sounds good too when I'm playing it, but
there you go. Yeah. I used to, to go back to my Jabras that I haven't used in some time because I lost them in my most recent move. But I used to love the Jabra companion app. You could do all sorts of, kind of fancy footwork with exactly how you wanted your audio to be. Like, do you want things to be like super bass heavy or like fool around with the treble or, that kind of stuff. I will definitely not push AirPods on anybody unless they're just sort of like, I don't know what. I've never had Bluetooth earbuds before. What should I get? I'd be like, well, that might work out nicely for you, but you have options.
You do have options, different price points, different options, and
there you go.
As long as they work. Should we get to mail?
Let's do it. Yeah. We got, I mean, we've gotten quite a few emails and we will definitely try to highlight as many of them as possible on future shows. But today, Eileen, what came in from Tim?
Tim says, first, well, should we just give ourselves a pat on the back? Thank you, Tim, for saying, first, you two are the perfect duo for the new show. Thank you so much.
I'm going to pat myself on the back for that.
Yeah. He's very excited. His suggestion is maybe have shows that focus on a particular feature or reason for an Apple device, such as the new anti-theft feature, which I'm like, oh yeah, I love that idea. What is it? Why is it important? How do you enable it? I mean, we could talk a whole show about that. And security, we could have a security guest and, kind of go through the whole motion and even just activate it on our own phones and what works and story. I mean, I've lost my phone in the past, but we should probably save that, for a show. I love that idea. He also says, also shows that talk why you should we talked about this, why you should upgrade to a new device, and programs and access that make your life easier. That's the point of the show.
Yeah, Tim, you get us. You get us.
You
really
totally get us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, I did mark that as like, oh yeah, we should go through like a security show. I was thinking, I was out the other day. I was like, I have been using Apple Maps more than I ever have before. And it's because I get the notification that tells me you're going to go home. You're not that far. And I just click the notification. I'm in Apple Maps instead of Google Maps or Waze. So I think there are just like, there's a ton of different things that we can talk about on our show that is hopefully helpful to you guys out there. And if there's other things that you want us to talk about, we'll definitely talk about audio. We'll definitely talk about photography in upcoming episodes. Even to like how Apple Podcasts have changed, over the years, and just like how it's offered to the consumer, what works and what doesn't work, and how's it compare to like, other places that you would get your favorite podcasts. So I don't know, there's just a multitude of ways. And I think that it's super important that everybody knows this isn't just about the Apple Vision Pro.
No, it's all things Apple. I mean, we're talking about, I was about to say 40-year-old Macs. Neither of us had Macs 40 years ago, but yeah, it is a cornucopia of all things Apple. And as we go into what is going to be a very interesting year for the company, for better or worse, we have so much to talk about. Yeah, whether it is, like you said, Tim, certain lifestyle choices where we can make the most of the gadgets that we have, the software that we have. How we can upgrade those things. You mentioned Maps, Eileen. I'm with you. I mean, Apple Maps works great. It didn't used to. I mean, It used to be, it wasn't that long ago where like, I'd be like, I'm so sorry I'm late, you guys. I used Apple Maps. And everyone would go, Sarah, come on, you know better than that. Why are you doing that? Yeah, like it took me like a really weird way, like down a dusty road. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that it was like, it's like Apple's like joke map app. Nobody uses that, and now it's great. But there are those. Nothing's totally perfect, but it's certainly something that I use now without even thinking twice.
Muted you, but I heard you. Don't call me. I need to disturb on my phone. Lesson learned on this show. Put do not disturb. I actually thought about that, and I was like, oh, nobody's going to call me. So.
I actually didn't do it either. So I guess you're more popular than I am, at least today, because nobody has called me or even texted. Thanks a lot, friends. But yeah.
You didn't want that spam call that I just got. I'm pretty sure it was spam.
No, probably not. And for anybody who's watching the video version of the show, and I know many of you just prefer audio, and that's great. We want to give you whatever works for you, but I'm gonna have to figure out how because the sun is now coming in to my room. When we started, it looked very different than how it looks now. I sort of look like I'm about to like ascend into heaven. And I don't know. Well, I'll have to put up a tarp or something just because of the time of day that we're recording this. But I don't know. If you're watching the video version, then it's just a fun little thing that you know about my western-facing office.
There you go. I was going to say something, and then I'm like, no, most people are listening, right? Maybe not.
I mean, you can see me. It's not like I've disappeared. I just look sort of, like oversunned. I've been oversunned.
The heavens are summoning.
That's
they're
right.
Like, we need some help, or they're blessing you.
I'm like, happening. I'm not ready. I have so much more work to do on Earth. Come on. Give me a minute. Oh gosh.
Goodness.
Well, listen, with all of that, hopefully all of y'all, and thank you to everybody who is listening, who is watching, who is doing either of those things after the fact, on demand, who has given us really good feedback for the show, given us words of encouragement, to hold a friend, that counts for so much. We're getting the show off the ground. So this is what we would consider our official beta show. We get the Vision Pro headset in 4 days from now. And then our official, what we would call episode 1, will be a week from now. And we're going to make the show that you want. So you let us know what you want and we'll keep doing it.
Please, please, please. And last week I said I hadn't set up that email. Email set up, Sarah.
What?
I did the work. Feedback at applevisionshow.com.
There you go. All right.
Email us.
Do it. Hey, we love accolades. We also will take criticism. We'll take it all. Feedback at applevisionshow.com. Yes, write us early and often. Appreciate that. And thank you in advance.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. See you next week. I don't have the fireworks going here. There. Nope, not doing it. Just the hearts, maybe. Oh yeah. You just had all
to
you need
want
is love.
it. You had to want it.
I didn't want the fireworks. I was like, no, the hearts. The hearts.
Your iPhone's like, no, it's not New Year's Eve, Eileen. Come on.
Oh man. All right. That will be the end of the audio, and there we have it. Yeah, somebody asked about the rippling of water. I'm like, I didn't notice that until somebody mentioned that. Did you notice that?
Do you have a fan on your ceiling?
No.
Because that's what it looks like to me. It just looks like a little bit of just, I don't know. Like there's air moving around in your room. It's not a big deal, but okay. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
How about, that was weird. It wasn't there last week.
It stopped.
No, I could still see it. It just,
oh yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think it was there last week. Thank you for pointing it out, everybody, but we'll figure it out. Also, I got to figure out how to play audio. It wasn't working earlier. Oh, I had this joke too. Oops, I forgot. Well, this is for our people who have stuck around, but look at this. Can you guys read this? This person on Twitter. I wonder if the Vision Pro's eyesight feature will work at night. If so, my favorite new activity will be walking into the pitch black bedroom with only my glowing eyes to terrify your partner.
Oh yeah.
I should do that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good stuff. The whole pass-through thing will be really interesting to play around with because I mentioned that I really like my Quest and I do, but the pass-through feature is it's not useless. I shouldn't say that because someone's going to be like, no, it isn't. Here's why it isn't. But it's mostly just so right before I start doing a thing, doing a workout video or, whatever, I make sure that I have my boundary set up.
Yeah.
Just so I don't run into the wall or hit my dog.
Yeah.
Or, Yeah.
But
again, that's VR. The pass-through capability of being able to see real life and for people to be able to see your eyes going both ways, that does change things somewhat. I mean, I remember once this was a couple of years ago, it was the height of the pandemic where I was just running out of options to keep myself occupied. So I was okay, so I'm gonna exercise in the driveway and VR exercise where it's I can't see the world and it's discouraged from doing anything like that outside because it's just too many elements. What if a bird flies into your face or I don't know, whatever it is, it's dangerous. But I was why? I'm standing here on a yoga mat. No one's around. The whole world is shut down. I'm going to do this outside. It was fine.
Nobody said anything, right? Or did anybody see me?
I mean, maybe somebody saw me and they were like, oh, poor Sarah, she's really bored. But I thought it was fun. I'm fresh air. Come on. What's not to like?
Oh my God. All right, guys. I think I'll end the stream unless you had other words.
Nope. I think this was real fun, and thanks to everybody for being part of it. And
Yes,
remember,
thank you.
remember to email us feedback at, I was about to say Daily Technician, feedback at applevisionshow.com. We will be looking for those emails. So
I tried to address as many comments as I could while we were
you,
talking when they made sense. So,
you did a
there was so
job.
many good comments and whatnot. So anyway, all right, guys.
All
See
right.
you next week.
See you later.